Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin our afternoon session. 5 ways to protect your retail real estate via brand response. Please welcome Jill Draper, President of Marketsmith, and Bob Grammer from EuroPro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our afternoon presentation. I'm Jill Draper, President of Marketsmith. We are a direct response marketing services agency, and we help our clients develop winning strategies and help them optimize their performance. I'm here with Bob Draper, Director of Marketing of EuroPro. EuroPro is a manufacturer of two very successful brand lines, Shark vacuum cleaners and floor care products, and Ninja kitchen appliances. So today we're going to bring you through how to create a winning retail strategy. But before we get started, I want you to do a little exercise. You don't have to raise your hand or shout out or anything, but for a second, picture in your mind what would be marketing nirvana at retail. What would success look like? Would that look like, would that mean that maybe Walmart actually returns your calls? Or would that mean that you landed a big deal at Target or Bed Bath & Beyond? Certainly, attaining retail distribution is a huge achievement, but it's only half the battle. Maintaining retail distribution, maintaining that premium shelf space, that's really the challenge. And that's where it's high risk, it's high investment, but certainly high rewards. But how do you do that? How do you create that consumer brand demand? How do you create that consumer brand preference? Ultimately, how do you transform your business from a product-centric, direct-to-consumer business model to a consumer-centric retail brand? And we believe that pivoting to a retail brand is really a transformation that marketers need to go through. Because when your consumer is standing in the aisle 3 feet from your product and comparing your brand side by side against your competitors, that's really the moment of truth. And in order for you to really win the war at shelf, you're going to have different strategies to do that. So today we thought to make it a little bit more interesting, we're doing a couple things. First, you see the M&Ms on your table, so please help yourself. We knew that the afternoon session was going to be a little bit difficult after lunch, so we wanted to give you a little sugar. We also wanted to bring you through an actual case study to bring this winning retail strategy to life. So today we're going to share with you how EuroPro in just 5 years transformed its business model and launched their lines of successful home appliances under the Shark and Ninja brand names at retail. And we'll tell you about how they were able to achieve 5 years of sustained growth across their categories, how they doubled their business in 5 years, grew to a 600 employee company, achieved a 23% share of the market in the floor care category, and most importantly, received Walmart's highest award, Vendor of the Year, for 4 consecutive years. But wait, there's more. I have to say that. So today we wanted to make this a little bit more interactive. We want to encourage you to participate. We're going to be asking questions. We'd like you to answer some of the questions, maybe share some of your challenges, share successes, and we will be rewarding participation. So if you're sitting at one of these close-in 6 tables where you see some of the Shark product names, you're eligible to participate. And Karina here is going to be actually keeping tabs of who's participating. And the team who participates most, Bob, what will they win?
They'll win a Shark Rotator Lift-Away Vacuum.
Or
a Ninja Ultima Blender.
Excellent. So now we have your attention. We'll announce the winner at the end of the presentation. So just to sort of start things off, so we're going to be talking about transforming business models. Can any of you think of examples where a brand has entered the marketplace and through a product or marketing innovation has completely transformed or redefined the category? You can talk amongst your teams. What's that at the rocket table? Proactive. Excellent. Excellent example. Totally transformed the treatment category created a whole new continuity business model. Yes, at the Steam and Spray. What? Aerobed, excellent. It totally fulfilled an unmet need at the moment, so that's another good example. Anybody else? All right, good. Okay, so now let's move on and talk about how Europro transformed their business and deployed a 4-point strategy that laid out the groundwork for success. So we're going to go through these 4 different strategies. Identifying the marketplace opportunity, uncovering consumer insights, driving consumer demand, and optimizing performance. And Bob and I will kind of do a ham and egg kind of thing and go back and forth.
Well, your marketplace opportunity is obviously your entry into the marketplace. You know, it's basically finding your niche and finding that white space that's gonna allow you to basically to seize upon that opportunity. In the case of Shark in the vacuum category, the category basically had either products that were basically had premium performance and were in the $400 to $600 price range, right? And then you had your value brands, right? You know, around $100, $100 or even a little less, right? But there was nothing in the middle, right? You know, and then the other thing is, you know, this was a mature category right now. You know, there wasn't a lot of innovation going on in the vacuum category. You had, you know, competitors that were making heavy vacuums. They weren't very maneuverable, very cumbersome. You know, so we basically set up a plan to basically seize upon that white space. You know, and you know what we did basically is we identified that price range category. You know, $130 to $250, right? And then we took that premium technology that was going for $400 to $600, you know, at retail, right? And then what we did is we took that technology and we actually put it into our vacuums, and we charged a little bit more than the value brands. So it made the premium vacuums more affordable to the average consumer. You know, and so that, you know, what that resulted is, you know, we had, you know, developed a lightweight vacuum that, you know, was more versatile and actually, in a lot of cases, outperformed the premium brands that were going for $400 to $600, and we're only charging, you know, $160 to $200 for a unit.
Okay, great. Let's take a look at just a quick 1.5 minute clip from the long form. Ivan?
Shark CEO Mark Rosen. Mark, so I hear you have some exciting news to share.
Let me introduce you to the new Shark Rotator Lift Away. It gives you enhanced swivel steering and better cleaning performance. We added even more suction power and increased cleaning capacity. Like the original Lift Away, the new Shark Rotator is still the only vacuum that lifts away to give you that same no loss of suction cleaning power in a portable. The Rotator also has a totally sealed system so advanced that it actually cleans the air in your room as you vacuum, because its anti-allergen complete seal technology locks in 99.99% of the tiniest dust particles so they don't escape back into the air you breathe. And the best part, we put all that added performance into the new Rotator Lift Away and still kept the price under $200.
Well, the technology wasn't our friend that time, but that's
Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice slideshow, you know.
That's right. Okay, so in addition to having an excellent product, a product that is differentiated, that has a strong value proposition, you also need to know about the consumer. You need to know more than than the consumer's demographics. You know, it's one thing to know about their age, their income, their gender, where they live, but in order to be really compelling, you need to know what's in the consumer's mindset, how do they perceive your brand, how do they perceive the competition, and how are they reacting to your creative message. So Europro decided to use a combination of both long form and short form to create brand awareness and drive retail sales. And so we wanted to make sure that the consumer messaging for both of those programs was really resonating with the consumer, and finding it compelling and it was driving purchase intent. So we did a couple of things. We conducted focus groups. We also ran the long form creative through dial testing, and I'll speak briefly about what that is. We ended up revising the creative based on that consumer input, and then we conducted pre and post brand awareness studies. So the focus groups, we got some nice learnings from that about the language, the demonstrations, how we were presenting the benefits and the product attributes. So for example, consumers love the money back guarantee. They liked the demo with the pool ball suction. They loved the fact that we featured the dogs and that we highlighted pet hair removal. And they loved the interviews and the testimonials. So from a qualitative perspective, that was valuable. From a quantitative perspective, we did dial testing. And that's an online quantitative test where we recruited over 100 consumers, and we asked them to take a look at the long form. We asked them to use their keyboard, the up and down arrows, to indicate what parts of the commercial, as they were watching it, was compelling and interesting, and that they were reacting positively to it. So here you can see the lines, minute by minute, and the different.
Yeah, and what we use this data a lot of times for is just, it's usually directional. We're not going to, totally make a change based off of the data that comes from these graphs. But what we might do is basically look into it and test a variable, and basically test the infomercial, make a different edit in a different way, and then test it in the marketplace.
Yeah, and for example, the green circles here are the peaks that indicated the demos that they liked. The red circles indicated the testimonials that were most affected, and we did end up switching out some of the testimonials as we went along. Also, this was helpful because as we move forward and we're cutting down the long form to the short form, we know what was really resonating and compelling to the consumer. So we'll go back to those specific points and put them into the short form. We also did some pre and post brand awareness studies. So we went into the marketplace. This is really before we started with short form. We wanted to see what our awareness levels were, since we were going now into this new media length. We were widening the funnel, bringing in new consumers, hopefully into the franchise and driving them to retail. So we wanted a benchmark. What was our awareness? What was our purchasing intent? What was our advertising recall?
Yeah, and at the time I started at Bureau Pro a few years ago, our unaided awareness was almost non-existent. And one of the things that we actually learned from this was that we needed to break out the infomercial universe. The infomercial universe is a very small population of people, and we did that by basically entering into the short form category, and it started broadening our reach and basically increasing our unaided awareness. And we basically saw instant results when we looked at the unaided awareness.
Yeah, unaided awareness doubled from number 8, most frequently mentioned, to number 2. Our advertising recall tripled, and most importantly, purchase interest jumped 16 points. So that gave us the confidence that we had refined the creative messaging, and that we had the right short form to go out into the marketplace. We did end up making some revisions on the Get a Shark spot that was optimized to mitigate any risk as we entered into retail, into the marketplace. But very importantly, we leveraged these market research results with the retailer. So that was part of the selling process. We could go with confidence to say not only had the infomercial been successful, but we'd done some market research to say that we really understood what the consumer was looking for, and that the short form was going to be successful. Europro continues to listen to consumers and look at consumer reviews today. And now we have the backing and the research to substantiate our claim that Shark is rated the most recommended vacuum in America. I don't think I'm going to share this with you, just another slideshow. You want to? Okay, go ahead. It's a short 30.
Get a shark.
Get a shark.
Get a Shark.
When you build a better vacuum, word gets around. Get a Shark. So it's no surprise that America's most recommended vacuum is a Shark. Get a Shark. After all, Sharks never lose suction, have swivel steering, and anti-allergen complete seal technology.
A Shark.
And now we've built our best vacuum yet, the Shark Rotator.
Get a Shark.
So get a Shark and find out why it's America's most recommended vacuum.
You can see the retail drivers tagged at the end too. So just to continue with our theme of interactivity, by show of hands, does anybody do market research or do you do any kind of research to find out what's in the consumer's head to gain a better understanding of the consumer? No. Would anybody like to do market research, but you're held back by the cost? Is that an issue? Yeah, we hear that a lot. I think it's an opportunity for market research vendors to come up with an innovation to present some methodologies that are more cost effective. Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, I can't underestimate basically listening to your consumer and basically finding who your consumer is. But once you actually do that, now you're going to figure out a way to basically drive those people that you just found out about to the stores to buy your product. And one of the things that you've got to do is basically you got to make a commitment. You've got to make a media commitment. That's that might mean in most cases for us it's actually resulted in success. But there have been many times where we're losing our shirt, and it can hurt. But because not only do you need to do this to basically drive people to retail, but you also need what you also need to basically do media investment for is to actually grow the confidence of your retail partners in you. They know if you make a commitment, they know you're going to follow through with it. So the next time you come to them with another product to put on their shelf, they're more likely to basically put that product on the shelf because they know you're going to follow through with support. One of the challenges that we've actually been, we're dealing with, is that, when we were entering the marketplace, is that competitors were spending a lot of money, so, we had to basically establish a share of voice. We also actually another problem we were dealing with in this category is that we actually had a competitor that was still cashing checks on brand equity from 20 to 30 years ago. And so we were fighting that as well. And because at that point we had no brand equity. But what we need, we also have, like we all do, we have our budget challenges. So it's really important once you, with your budgets to spend that money wisely, effective and efficiently. And the other challenge that we were dealing with in the last decade, the last 5 years, is that the media landscape was changing. Gone were kind of the days where you could actually just go and basically reach out to the customer in your more traditional channels, like in television or in print. Now you basically had all these online channels through social media on the web that you basically so your audience was now becoming fragmented, more difficult to reach, and also there were more influencers at that point too. So there's kind of like three types of consumers right here. You've got your people who are going to buy now. They're early adopters. They buy directly through the phone. They're comfortable with buying directly on the phone or in the call center. And these are the guys that are going to basically subsidize your advertising. That's how you're going to get your media expenditure back. Then there are the people that aren't going to basically buy directly through you right here, but then you get these people who are going to consider the purchase. They're going to do the research, and they're going to basically look at sources on both the web and social. So it's very important to basically have an influence on those sources that they're basically referencing. And the other thing that we've got now is also brand recall becomes very important. Now you're in the aisles, right? And you got people who are, the comparison shoppers. They're influenced by, omni-channel, tactics. They've already been influenced by the omni-channel tactics from these first two phases. But they're also impulse shoppers. They're basically influenced by the halo effect. One of the things that we actually do is we might be advertising the Shark Rotator lift away. But our advertising for the actually affect sales. It actually drives sales for our other vacuums within the rotator line, and also as well as the Shark Navigator line. So basically, as important it is to basically spend heavily, on long form and short form commercials. It's very important to have an omni-channel approach. We're on television. We're hitting all the different touch points that affect the consumer purchase. That's including digital, product integration, we do sponsorships to engage, and make sure that we find the right audience so we can produce the right results. We've definitely made some significant strides. We now have a dominant share of voice. It helps drive our brand awareness. It also proves to our retail partners, basically that we're here, that we're going to support the product at retail. But one of the things here to note is basically it's important to basically when you're entering the marketplace to see what your other competitors are doing and make sure that you actually have an equal voice in the marketplace or a greater voice. Although I will basically say I did have a client about 10 years ago who actually was number 2 in the marketplace, right? Or number 2 in share of voice. And what actually happened is that those 3 out of the 4 years I worked with that client, they actually had the number 1 market share. And what it was is not only do you have to get the share of voice, but you also have to have a compelling message, and you need to spend your media dollars wisely and make sure that you basically reach the right audience.
So what you're saying that it's really important to know what the competition is doing. You don't necessarily have to be the biggest spender when you enter the marketplace, but at least be cognizant of what the other players are spending. And if you are a second, third spender, at least make sure that you've got a marketing plan that is really strong that will compensate for the fact that you're not spending as much as your competition.
One of the things also is it's not just to focus on the airtime that we're actually going to get, that you get the most return on from a direct consumer perspective, but you got to also basically look at high profile airtimes, and that's what we do on programming on networks like CNBC. We might not get the return that we would ideally want from a direct consumer standpoint, but we know that those airings actually drive a lot of retail. I mean, they do drive a lot of volume to the call center, but we take a beating on our MER on those types of airings. But we know we get the reward, at Walmart, Bed Bath, Target.
I think that's a really interesting point, again, as you're shifting into retail, because, you're used to developing marketing plans that, as Bob says, you're looking at cost per spot, you're looking at, the MER, you're looking at the exact result from that particular airing. And what we're finding is that you may change your strategies, you may accept lower MERs, you might accept that because you know that if you sell 1 infomercial through the direct channel, you're going to sell 20 in the retail channel. Yes, Ultima?
I don't know if this works.
So when you're deciding which stations, like you said, may have a high MER, but it's driving the retail, how are you putting those exact retail sales to that spend? Just allocating 20 retail stores across all media channels,
Right.
all media stations.
So I don't know if everybody could hear that. The woman asked, how do you attribute the specific retail sales to the media plan? And I don't know if any of you were in the panel session at 1 o'clock, which directly talked about attribution, but we follow that same methodology. We do use iPredictus. That allows us to look at the time and the date of the airing, and then we look at the lag time of when that retail sale occurred. So we're really connecting the dots and looking at that over time. And because it's a consistent media plan that's being deployed, we can pull out the other variables and isolate that specific airing to the retail sales. Yes, Sonic. with so much media?
Yeah, how can you attribute that to the retail? If you have so much media at the same time.
I understand what you're saying, but we're not running these high profiles on, all the time. And so we're not necessarily running those every week. So we do have a control that basically allows us to basically measure off.
And a lot of it is predictive. I mean, a lot of it is looking at past historical data, bringing that into the platform. Our algorithm uses 3,000 data points. So it allows us, based on that history of what the retail sales have been, what the media weights have been, what the media performance has been, then we have a better idea of projecting forward with a higher level of confidence that the retail sales are going to deliver. And then we continue to do it again on a daily and weekly basis. We can look at this literally on a daily basis. It takes us 7 minutes to pull down the data.
If you basically increase the number of these types of airings, you can look at the sales data at retail and basically see if you basically do a product. You're not going to be able to, unlike a direct call to the call center where you can basically attribute it to a phone number that was on a particular area. That's, obviously that's directly attributed. But here you basically going to watch what's happening at retail, what your sales are like there, and what you did that week and the previous weeks leading up to that.
And you're right, we'll get into the measurement, but it isn't exact. We are connecting dots. We have to look at other things, other factors like store circulars. We know that's having an impact in addition to the media. But we have, we have analysts who pull out some of those other variables that will be impacting retail sales. So, all right.
And then, we have digital strategy. Basically this is another one of the touch points. There's, an integrated strategy, creating a consistent message across all different channels. We currently manage about six to eight different TV offers, or TV products. We're constantly testing. Testing is so important. We're testing, where the buttons are, how big the buttons are, what all the various price points, shipping and handling, does that work? So we're constantly, doing that all the time. And obviously this integrated plan, includes, retargeting, paid search, and social promotions. Our social media plays a critical role in the company's, path to purchase. It's our two-way conversation with our customers. We basically, we have Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and, we have a YouTube channel. But on Facebook, we're developing a relationship. It's the one opportunity where a company can really have like a one-on-one, conversation, or what feels to be a one-on-one conversation, via Facebook. Consumer, I think definitely is for us. And as you can see, with our DRTV revenue, also we had the same trajectory on our retail sales. There was definitely a direct correlation as to what we did, on this plan.
Okay, so I know you're very interested in measurement, optimizing performance, and this is a DR audience, so I don't have to talk about the importance of it. You all embrace that very, very well. So we use, as I mentioned before, proprietary tools to track data and to measure. We're looking at the impact of media spend and media mix on retail behavior. The chart at the bottom actually charts over media spend year over year. The bars show the media spend and the lines across are showing sales at point of sale. So we're looking at the correlation. We're also looking at sales trending by retailer. The colorful bar chart at the bottom right shows sales broken out by retailer. So if we see a retailer that seems to be lagging, we're going to dig down deep and find out what's going on there. And then we also look at revenue per unit versus sales performance. A lot of times we'll see retailers start supporting a specific SKU that we may have, which is great. They might be featured in a circular, but they might be discounting it. So while our sales may be going up, we're going to see that our revenue per unit might be going down. So we just have to be sensitive to that we're not going out of balance. And then this is really talking about understanding media investment through data. So we do look at the correlation between media investment and the individual airings. Our intent by doing that is to shed some of the underperforming media airings and then buy more and scale up the media airings that have been performing well. Those two heat maps on the bottom show web visits right after airings. So the one on the left shows what it looks like after long form has been aired. The one on the right shows what it looks like after short form has aired. And what we're looking at is seeing the trends, because as we bring in different media lengths, we're seeing that the response time from consumers to go on the web and to explore more or to make a purchase has a greater lag than long form. We've learned a lot as we've gone into retail, and we're much better informed on what works and what doesn't. For instance, we found that the high-profile airings have a very positive impact at retail. Retail insertions, circulars, can impact sales up to 20% or more. So that's got to be part of the conversation as you're talking to your retail partner. And then the end cap placement certainly drives incremental sales. We've also seen that when our competitors are advertising, that can have either positive or negative impact on our sales. So when we see increased TV media spend from the competition, we're seeing this all boats rise kind of impact. So everybody seems to be benefiting. But when the competition's in the circular, in the insert, we're seeing that has a big negative impact. And we're also seeing that if they secure an end cap display, that causes disruption. And one of the things that is a theme that I think is coming through in this presentation is that knowing the competition is so critical as you develop your marketing plan, but also approaching your retailer as a real partner. And I think that's such a huge shift from going from a direct-to-consumer business model to a retail brand. That retailer, is a critical influencer to you. And one of the things that that Europro is working on is developing an integrated marketing calendar with its retail partners. So we can plan out for the whole year when we're going to get the end aisle displays, when we're going to get certain promotions, certain circular features. And then that allows us to build the marketing plan around the retailer's initiatives. So we can choose to either spend more when we're going to have that really great placement in store, or we may decide that, during these gaps, when we know the competition's going to be there, then we've got to really beef up our spending. But then, laying out that integrated marketing calendar is really important.
Yeah, one thing you've got to be aware of is basically making sure you know what's actually going on in the stores. We actually had a customer come to us and basically say that despite the fact that our media levels were actually at the same level they always have been, we're actually seeing a decline in sales. And what we did was we actually went to Marketsmith and we basically created a retail crowdsourcing team, across multiple stores, basically to find out what is actually going on. And what we determined is that the retailer had created a unique SKU partnership with a competitor, and they were actually selling their product right next to ours with the same messaging at a lower price. And so what that did was that it actually changed the conversation with our customer, and it became a dialogue, and a more constructive dialogue as to what our next step should be, with our customer, and it just changes the partnership.
Right, because that's really holding the retailer accountable. you know, and I think that the only way you can do that is if you are getting line of sight at the shelf and figuring out what is happening, you know, what's going on there, whether, you know, are you out of stock? Are you being merchandised poorly? Is it something that you need to talk to the retailer
Even
about?
if are they keeping their shelves open?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's in retail, if you have messy shelves, you're going to have lower sales. And it's up to making sure as the retailer are accountable that those shelves are basically adequately maintained. So, the key takeaways today, is identifying that opportunity, identifying that white space, your entry into the marketplace. It's also, uncovering consumer insights, getting to know your customer, figuring out who they are, how to talk to them, what they needs that they have, and then driving consumer demand. Committing to the retail business model, and spending accordingly, and following up on those commitments to gain the confidence of your retail partners. And it's also basically, once you're in in retail, it's also basically making sure that you're surrounding them, surrounding the consumer with all the various touch points with your messaging, so that you basically are with them from television to online and to at that point of purchase. And then optimizing performance. I can't say enough about this. We're constantly optimizing our infomercials, all our direct response channels, and constantly testing. Because what might work in November may not work in January.
Great. Does anybody have any questions or challenges that they're facing at retail that they want to share and talk about? All right. Good. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Stay 1 minute and we'll announce the winner. Give us 2 seconds.